Okay, first thing, right off the bat, I would like to state, for the record, I swear I tried to watch the episode before this, A Solstice Carol. Like, I did. I watched the whole way through. Basically, if I do try to talk about Solstice Carol more than what I'm doing right now, it's just going to be 10 minutes of me sitting here and shaking my head and maybe occasionally glancing for guidance up to the heavens. That's all I got for you. I'm sorry, and I want to do more for you, which is why we're going to skip on to episode 210, the Xena Scrolls. Because once again, Xena proves that it is the master of the clip show. Because this is a clip show, and yet they are taking it to that whole special place, which is not the regular clip show place. In fact, we have been taken to Macedonia in 1940, and we were basically introduced to these amazing excuses to put our favorite actors and actresses in period drag, and I love it! I am eating it up with a metaphorical spoon! Because here comes Lucy Lawless, and she is, as usual, flawless, because she is done up to the hilt in 1940s drag, and it is an amazing look for her, and she's got this amazing southern accent, which I can't possibly do justice to, but if you've seen it, you know, and if you haven't seen it, you will never know. And oh my god, Renee is Indiana Jones? I don't even know what you would call Gabriella's Indiana Jones. Is it like Indy Gabby Jonesiel? I don't know. I feel like that's lame, and she is not lame. She is amazing in this getup. But we do quickly move on to a plot, because bless you, Xena, your filler episodes have plot, and I love you. Because we find out quickly that Indiana Gabrielle is working on a dig to try and find these Xena Scrolls, which are going to unlock the past and turn myth into history and history into myth and turn everything topsy-turvy. And she will get the credit and will be able to restore the good name of her father. And honestly, none of that matters as much as how amazing everyone looks in their costumes. I'm sorry, I'm shallow. You know that. There is very quickly a shootout, and this is kind of remarkable for many reasons. When people are fighting in hand-to-hand combat on this show, I think we are all aware of how ridiculous it very quickly becomes, with moves that could not possibly happen in any reality other than the reality of Xena Warrior Princess. But you see, when you start adding guns into that mix, it kind of gets a little more ridiculous than it had previously been. Because what you have is you have a shootout, and you have a shootout in a tent between several people with many guns, and no one hits anybody, like, ever. I don't really know how this is possible, especially considering they eventually moved to, like, automatic weapons, and so these things are like, and like shooting and shooting and shooting, and they're shooting here pointed straight at these people, and still no one is dying? Suspension of disbelief is a very special thing, and you know what? Forget I even mentioned it. We're just gonna go ahead with this. Okay, anyway, back to the whole setup of this episode, which is that Indiana Gabrielle is trying to find the Xena Scrolls. She's basically found a tomb where they believe that the scrolls are, even though no one ever says who's actually supposed to be buried in this tomb, and this confuses me. But so many things do confuse me that we shall not dwell on this. So she's looking for the scrolls, and there is apparently a bad guy named Smythe who is trying to stop her, and there always have to be bad guys, and people kind of toss around the whole Nazi thing and try and go for this Raiders of the Lost Ark feel, and I don't know why these hands are doing what they're doing, but they're very special. But yeah, so there are bad guys, and they're trying to come and get into the tomb too, and through some various chicanery, things are going on that are not what they should be. But all of this pales in comparison to the accent party that arrives in the form of Joxer, because he is sporting the most amazingly bad French accent, and he comes on as like Lieutenant Joxer, and I can't even talk about it, because it is basically perfection in human form, and that human form is Joxer, and I love you so much, I cannot possibly love you more, and I apologize, as usual, for the fervor of my Joxer feelings, but they are there, and they are strong. Now, of course, things transpire that they will quickly get into the tomb with the help of Xena and her amazing translating prowess, but of course, tombs being tombs, and this being an Indiana Jones pastiche, there are booby traps, and the bad guys get separated from the good guys, and the good guys are kind of wandering around this weird, creepy tomb. And Xena takes this opportunity to work on translating some of the writing that's on the walls, and it turns out that basically the writing on the walls ships Xena and Ares, because it keeps talking about their very special bond in ways that are not normally talked about on the show unless you're talking about Xena and Gabrielle. But there it is, and it's weird. But because we have a plot, Xena finds half a chakram in the wall, and pretty much as soon as she picks up the half a chakram, she kind of gets like led around by it until it meets up with the other half, which is held by the bad guy. Basically, the chakram does get fused back together, and when it does, all of a sudden there was like red light and crazy sound effects and maybe a smoke machine? I don't know. But suddenly Ares is the one who crawls out of the tomb. And I guess, okay, that answers my question from before, which is, whose tomb is it? But it's still weird. Now, Ares very quickly disposes of the baddies with various magical god powers. I'm not really clear on what they are, but he's a god, so I'm okay with that. And Joxer jumps in to save the day, and he will do so with fisticuffs, because he is perfect. He is perfection. And then he is revealed by Ares not to be, you know, Joxer, but in fact a shoe salesman from New Jersey, and he kind of loses the French accent and goes into this ridiculous, what I guess is a New Jersey accent. And I'm sorry, Ted Raimi, but you're just gonna have to stop being so adorable if I'm supposed to be expected to not love you passionately. So then we kind of realize what's going on here, which is that Joxer is descended from Joxer, which is why he looks like Joxer. Shocker! And Gabrielle is Gabrielle, and Xena is Xena, and, you know, convenient. But basically, Ares reveals that the whole reason he's in this tomb, actually, does he ever reveal the reason that he's in this tomb? I don't know that he ever actually reveals the reason that he's in this tomb, but he does say that the only way he can get out is if he joins forces again with Xena. Now, here's the weird thing, because unless I blinked and I missed something, all of a sudden, our modern-day, mild-mannered Southern, like, translator lady is Xena? I don't really know. It's weird. All of a sudden, she picks herself up, rips off half her clothes, and is our Xena. And it's really weird, and I don't think it's ever actually explained, because by the end of the episode, she's gonna go back to being not Xena, and you know, I'm just gonna roll with it because it helps us move along the plot. And really, I'm glad Xena's back, because it means that she's here to put us all once again aboard the OTP train, because modern-day Gabrielle is feeling a little bummed that she is just, you know, Gabrielle instead of Xena or somebody else cooler than that. Her words, not mine. And Xena is there to calm her down and be like, what are you talking about? The bond between Xena and Gabrielle is the best thing that ever happened to either of them. OTP. And of course, Ares is trying to get out of the cave now that he's awake, and Xena has to be like, no, you cannot get out and help Hitler, because that would be bad. And so Xena has to fight him to keep him in the cave tomb thing place. And there is rascally Ares still trying to convince Xena that she needs to come over to his side. And you know, what a magnificent team they would make. And you and I, we could have had it all. And then I just start singing Adele songs. And really, you haven't lived until you have the mental picture of Ares singing Rolling in the Deep to Xena. I'm just going to leave you with that. Vitters, please, take that little gift from me. I give it to you freely. And of course, eventually Xena wins. She manages to hit Ares with a great big spiky styrofoam ball thing. I don't know, it's really weird. I don't know why I said it in the first place, but she manages to stop him with it, and everybody gets out of the tomb just in time before, like, the door smashes down, like doors like to dramatically do. And Xena is back to being not Xena again. And, you know, there is time, luckily, in the plot for not Xena and not Gabrielle to hook up together and go off and have adventures, and everything is all right in the world. You know what? I just really like this episode. I think it's super fun. I love taking a break from the regular stuff and letting everyone just be really ridiculous and silly. And I think that's kind of what Xena's about, and it really doesn't hurt when everyone is doing ridiculous accents and is dressing in fabulous clothing. And, you know, I just, even if I have to keep thinking about Ares singing that song. No Hollywood producers were harmed during the production of this motion picture.